Good morning. Welcome to a video about the JavaScript console. What this video really is it's our first encounter with this idea of something called debugging. Okay? Here I am. I'm here for you. Debugging is the thing that we do in programming when we are trying to fix the problems that our program has. And the most important thing to know about debugging is that it's the most common thing that we end up doing, okay? When we write programs, they don't work. That is very, very normal. So as you're learning to program especially, but even when you're like an amazing programmer, most of the time your program doesn't actually work. And a lot of what you're doing as a programmer is not just writing the code so that it so that you have some code sitting there. It's fixing the code because it doesn't do what it's meant to do. And I'll talk more about the whole debugging process as we go along. Today, I just want us to dip our toes in and see one little aspect of it, and one of our our allies in the fight against broken code, okay? But really, 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 the thing that it's so important to remember is not to feel bad when your code doesn't work, okay? It's very normal, and if at all possible, it's a great idea if you can even find it fun when your code doesn't work. I really enjoy it when something's not working because it's like a puzzle to solve, right? And solving puzzles is satisfying, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. This is not going to be a very long video. I just want to show you one thing, really. So I'm going to switch over to my screen again. So we're still in the kind of drawing phase. So I'm just going back to Atom here, and I've still got open my face drawing code that I was working on. So I'm just going to launch that in the browser with Atom Live Server. So packages, Atom Live Server, start server. And there's my nice face with its blue eyes and its minty background. Okay, and this program is actually working, right? And it's working because, it's a relatively simple program. But you'll probably find even when you're just doing simple drawing stuff at the beginning, things will still go wrong. Okay, there's lots of things that can go wrong, and it's not embarrassing for your program not to be working. So if I head back to Atom now, and we look at the code, well, so we've got this nice program that draws this face. It's nicely commented. We know what all of these little instructions mean, and everything's fine. And so we see it show up on the screen. If we make a small mistake anywhere in a program, there's different kinds of things that can happen when we make a mistake, but one of the key things that can happen is that our program won't work. And so I just want to introduce an error. So just like on the lecture notes, just to keep it consistent, I'm going to misspell the word background here. Okay, so now it's written background, B-C-K-G-R-O-U-N-D. You can see when we look at the code here in the editor, there's nothing special about this line. It still gets highlighted in blue. Everything kind of looks normal. It's not like a word processor where we might get a nice little red underline or something. There are tools that can start to build that kind of thing up. I personally think it's better when we're learning program to try and at least begin to understand and spot problems ourselves. So we've got a problem in our code, but we don't know it yet, all right? And so what will normally happen is, oh, look at that, I'm moving the brightness up on my computer. What will normally happen is that we will write a bunch of code like this, and we won't notice that we've made a mistake. Yep, and then what will happen is we'll go over to our browser to check out how things are going, and we'll see this, right? A completely blank screen. And the screen is completely blank because the program has crashed, effectively. When an application on your computer crashes, it maybe just suddenly quits or disappears. This is what that is, right? And what's going on is something in the code is not working. That's exactly what's happening when, say, Photoshop crashes or similar, right? Something deep inside the code broke, and then Photoshop quit. This is the same thing, except it's our program. We wrote it, so we have to fix it. All right, so going back to the code, there's different ways that we could diagnose the problem. And as we get more and more comfortable with programming, for one thing, we're less likely to make mistakes like this, just because we'll be more and more careful with how we type things in and know that we can't make any little spelling mistakes. We'll also get used to the idea of, like, especially for a small program like this, that we might just read this line by line and be like, okay, that looks okay, that looks okay. And then we might get here and we might notice, oh, this is spelled wrong. Okay, so one way is to just read through your program and spot the problem yourself. And that can work. It gets harder the bigger your program gets, though, right? One other thing that we can do that I think is a very good idea is very frequently checking your code. Okay, so when you add new lines of code or anything that does something new, it's a good idea to go over and make sure in the browser that it still works. If it doesn't work, then you know that whatever you just did broke your program. This is why it's a good idea not to try and write an entire program all in one go. However, we've got this problem and we want to find it. So the thing I want to show you is another way of finding problems, and it's very important. So back in the browser, currently, if we're just running our program in the browser like this, we get no help whatsoever. We just don't see our program. However, in the browser, there is a set of tools that are specifically there to help us out. So if we go up to View in Chrome, you'll have to look somewhere slightly different in Firefox. It's in the lecture notes. So if we go to View and then we go down to the Special Developer menu, because we are a special developer people, and we go across, there's a few different tools here. The one that I want us to look at is this one called JavaScript Console. And the JavaScript Console is where your program gives you messages about what's going on that aren't part of the running program that a user would see. They're special messages for you, the programmer. Okay? So I want to open that. It's very well worth memorizing this keyboard shortcut here. On a Mac, it's Option Command J. If I had to guess, I would say on Windows, it's probably Control Alt J or something along those lines. But you can see it listed in the menu. So when I click on this, a little extra window opens up over here on the right-hand side. And you can see immediately that it's giving us technical information about the status of the program. And one thing that we do need to get used to is that some of this stuff matters and some of this stuff does not matter. Okay? And in fact, it's showing at least one thing I wasn't expecting. So that's actually kind of a good thing. I can talk about that quickly too. So unlike this unhelpful blank white page that doesn't tell us anything, when we program with the console open, the JavaScript console open, we get lots of information kind of from behind the scenes, right? For that reason, whenever you are doing programming, you should just always have this console open. It should really be the first thing that you have open. Even if your program is working fine, you want to have this open so that you can see in case something goes wrong, all right? So let's read these from the top to bottom, just to get a little sense of what's going on. So the first thing here is in red. That means it's an error. Errors are not necessarily something that you have to worry about, but here we see failed to load resource. The server responded with a status of 404. You might be familiar with 404 from the internet. It means not found. So this is telling us that a file wasn't found, and it's telling us that I think this file p5.dom.min.js was not found. And the reason it wasn't found is because it's not there. This is me forgetting to remove something from the template project. If I head back over to Atom and I go to index.html, you can see here in the scripts, there's a line here that's including a script called p5.dom.min.js, and that is not actually available. If we go and look in over here in the sidebar, we can see that it's not in the libraries folder, okay? So it's not there, and that's why that's an error, right? It's an error because there's a missing file. Now, in fact, we don't need this file, and I'm going to delete this line to say we don't need that file. Don't worry. Don't try and load it. So if I save that now and go back across to the browser, it's reloaded the program, and that error is gone because it's no longer trying to load a non-existent file. I must remember, for your sakes, to remove it from the template. I'm sorry that that was there. Okay, so that was the first error, and we actually fixed it, right? We read it, we understood that it was talking about a missing file, and we fixed it. You won't need to fix that in future. Now, there's a couple more things in here. These things in yellow are warnings. You can see they've got a little exclamation mark and a triangle, just like a road sign. And anything in yellow, it means that it's not going to stop your program from working or anything. It's just a warning about something that's maybe not ideal. So we've got the audio context was not allowed to start. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. We don't We don't really care about this error message. We'll talk a bit more about sound later on. This is a very common error to do with how browsers require security stuff when you're trying to use sound. So it doesn't matter. We're not using sound anyway in this particular program, so we'll ignore that. DevTools failed to load source map. So it's looking again for a particular little file, p5.sound.min.js.map, and couldn't find it. Again, that file is not present. I'm not 100% sure why this warning is here, but I also don't care about it. Again, I'm not using sound, so this doesn't actually matter. So we're just going to ignore that for the moment. Then we get another audio context was not allowed to start message. This is identical to the top one. So once again, we're going to ignore that. So we've got 3 warnings. I'm going to ignore all of them. Then we get a little message with no color that says live reload enabled. This is the Atom live server reporting for duty. So it's saying it's ready and it's working and it's going to reload the page every time we save a file. So we're sort of seeing inside the heart of the program. Now, the important thing that I do want us to look at is this last message here. Again, I'm not going to expand it. It's a little bit terrifying. This red message here, this is an error, and this is an error that is stopping my program from working. That's the final error on the page, right? And it looks kind of freaky, but we can learn to read these error messages, and we will learn to read them over time, and we can kind of intuitively figure out what's going on here, okay? There's a couple of important things I just want to point out. So the message is uncaught in promise reference error. So a reference error, what it's talking about there is we've referred to something in our program. We've said that something exists, if you like, and it doesn't exist. And it specifies exactly what the error concerns, and it's saying background, B-C-K-G-R-O-U-N-D, which is our typo, is not defined. So it's saying there's something that we're calling background in our program, and as far as it can tell, that's not a real thing. And it's right. You know, there is no such thing as a function in P5 or our program called background. And so that's an error, and so it's crashing. Now, the most important thing about this error, it tells us what the issue is, and in fact, because our program is small, we probably could just go and fix it now, because we would go back to Atom and our script, which is over here, and we remember where our background command is, right? And we'd be, oh, yep, there it is. It says background, just like the error message reported. But as, again, our programs get bigger, I'll go back to the browser, it becomes helpful to notice that we're also getting a line number. And it's telling us precisely where it thinks the problem is. So it's got the name of the file that the problem is in, script.js, and it's got the line number in that file where the problem was found. So it's quite specific. If we go back to Atom and we remember line 17 in script.js, well, we've got script.js open up here, and we've got, if we count down in Atom, we can see line 17 is right here, and there indeed is the exact place where the problem is. So we can diagnose and fix this error quite remarkably well. Again, in a large program, you might want to jump to the line without having to scroll around. And I believe, I don't actually use this that often, but if we go down here, we can see in Edit, the Edit menu, go to line. And it has a shortcut, which is Control-G, which you could memorize. And if I hit that, I can type in a line. So I type 17, because it's in line 17. I hit return, and the cursor automatically moves to that line. And then I know that I'm right where the error is. So that is how we could diagnose that particular kind of error. And that's probably one of the most common errors that you're going to be making early on. It's just typing things in slightly wrong. So if I fix that and I save, and then I go back to my Chrome, the program is working again. And over here in the console, there's no red messages, so there's no errors for me to fix. There's just these audio errors that we're not worrying about because we're not using sound right now. Okay, that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. So my main message to you beyond everything else is do have this console open. Remember that you can go to View, Developer Tool, JavaScript Console, or you can hit Option Command J or probably something else on Windows which you can learn. Whenever you're programming, have this open. It will allow you to see those red messages, and at the very, very least, you can get a line number that's telling you where the problem is, and you can go and look at your code and see if you can figure out what it is. Getting used to that process is very important. It's right up there with looking at the reference in terms of ways that you can get better at programming. Okay? That is literally the process. That's really how debugging works. Okay? So we use the JavaScript console. So we write our program, we run it, we have the JavaScript console open, we see errors that are listed, we check what the nature of the error is if we understand it, and the line number. We go back to our program, we look at that line, we identify where the problem is, and we correct it, and then we carry on. Okay? That is how we do debugging, and that is the usefulness of the JavaScript console. We'll talk more about the console later on, but for now, that's our big take-home. Okay, that was really it for the debugging state of things. I guess actually before I go, I will just go and commit that just to be a good person. Although, actually this is interesting. If I do go over to GitHub Desktop, there's not actually a lot of changes, right? Actually, the only change I really made was I deleted this line about this library that I didn't want to keep. I'm not going to bother committing that because I'm going to fix that for you elsewhere. Because I broke the program, but then I fixed it again. There's actually no difference, so there's no major changes to commit there. Okay, so we're done with the JavaScript console. Please always have it open and give it your best shot at fixing things. And even if you can't fix it, it means that you can send the error message to somebody with more experience, or share it with your friends or the TA or me, and we can work on it together. It just makes everybody's job that much easier. And that's it. That's all that I have for us today. So I will see you in the next video.